Hey, you guys, sometimes on Just a Sip, it gets real. And today we will be talking about real issues surrounding addiction and mental health with Jason Wahler. And I know it may be triggering to some, and I understand if you turn the channel, but I hope you stick around. This was an unbelievable conversation. Will we see the change in season 2?
Hell yeah. For next season, it's calling people out on their dude.
Ooh!
I have my favorite mugshot in an 8x10 frame. It's a constant reminder of where I never want to go back.
Tell me the wildest story. I'm so happy that you are here. I'm actually calling this episode New Beginnings.
Fair enough.
One, because you're on a show called The Hills, New Beginnings, this
Correct.
little show on MTV. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But also because you're having a new beginning.
Correct.
When we first met you years ago on Laguna Beach, where were you in your life? What age were you? Where was your headspace? Tell me all of it.
The way I like to look at it is I'm not proud of it, but 10, 12 years ago, I was the drunk, womanizing alcoholic. I was young. I was 18, 19, 20 years old. I was very lost. I was in the depths of my addiction when that all happened. I mean, the cusp of it, after we shot Laguna Beach going into the season 1 of The Hills is when, my addiction took full force.
I moved to LA because of The Hills.
Okay.
Just so you know, because in my mind, I thought, oh, these pretty people are partying at Ladue. They're having a good time. They're living at these fancy apartments, getting paid to have a ball. But really, you were dying on the inside this whole time.
I was, and I think the sad thing with that is 10, 12 years ago, right? There just wasn't that many outlets to be able to reach out to and say that what I was going through. Drugs and alcohol were my solution.
But what was the drug and the alcohol?
Alcohol is my primary drug of choice, right? And then coinciding with cocaine those were my two things.
You got arrested a few times, which I wasn't going to bring up, but God damn it, you had some beautiful mugshots.
I appreciate that.
You had some pretty mugshots.
I have my favorite Mel Gibson mugshot in an 8x10 frame in my bathroom. It's in the drawer where my toothbrush and my toothpaste is, where when I pull that out, it's a constant reminder of where I never want to go back. Yeah. I was just a sad, lost individual. And the depths of my addiction took me to not contemplation, but attempting suicide. And I got to a really, really dark place.
Do you think that you survived that suicide because of what you're doing today?
100%.
Back me up because I want to understand this a little bit better. A lot of people would say, when they hear of a friend committing suicide, I never thought in a million years they would do it. They never talked about it. It just didn't seem like it crossed their minds. In your experience, had it been a lingering issue? Had it been a lingering thought for you? Or was it a spur of the moment, I'm going to do this?
It did. It crossed my mind, but it was more one of those things like, I'm never going to act on it. You know what I mean? It was just more of like maybe a cry for help type of thing or, but you start manifesting that long enough, dude, and it starts to become a reality. It was premeditated. It was kind of just like as things kept going and getting worse and worse and worse, it was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? And it was like one of those things where I was just like, I'm over this. I'm committing to it.
How old were you?
21, 22, or in that area.
So when we knew you from the first run of Laguna Beach and The Hills.
It happened in, if you remember when Kasha, the girl I was dating, Lauren came to the engagement party.
Yes.
It happened in that apartment.
Damn. Speaking of Lauren, you famously dated Lauren Conrad, and you guys broke up because of your addiction issues. Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to reconcile with her now, knowing what you know and being who you are today?
Yeah, a part of the process of abstaining, recovery and living a life sober is making amends, and I made amends to Lauren.
Did she accept it?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's freeing, when you can take ownership in your actions and let people know that you truly want to make things right and that you apologize and you take the actions to fix what you did. It feels good.
You turned your life around completely.
It's a daily reprieve. You know what I mean? What I do today, what I did yesterday doesn't directly impact what I do today to stay sober, but I have definitely transformed, and I'm happy to be able to say that. And I'm content in my own skin. I can sit here and look you in the eyes where I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I'm happy. I got a good group of people around me.
How hard was it to figure out who those people were in your life that were enabling that behavior?
It was really hard, man. It was a very emotional state because, I mean, you know, not knowing who was around you for the right reasons, you know, who was dating you for the right reasons. I mean,
Before you go any further, LA is swarming with hanger-oners.
Yeah.
There are leeches at every...
I'll give you the best term for it. I think Forbes is the one that came out with this article. It's called Assholes. ASKHOLES. How can I take 45 minutes of your time to benefit my life?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the coattail was so long, man, I couldn't even move. I naturally have a big heart. I want to give back. But I've also, you know, I'm a people pleaser. I like to appease people. I like to, you know, people to feel good. And that's something that I've even struggled with in sobriety. You know what I mean? Is setting boundaries and being able to say no. So, I mean, I've learned a lot about myself through this journey, and it's stuff that I still work on today. There's always room for growth. But, you know, going back and looking at that, it was emotionally and physically and mentally challenging trying to figure out who really had your best interest. I went back to the grassroots, the foundation that was established, family, the core people that were around me when I was a little kid, and started there, you know.
Yeah.
And I learned too, Aristotle says it best, you got more than 5 friends, you got none. And the people I have in my life today, I mean, I'm just astounded with, I never thought they would be in my life.
I have a friend who's also going through sobriety right now, and I'm giving him a space.
Right.
But it seems like he cut me completely out of his life. Does that happen often in sobriety? And do you only surround yourself with people who are only sober?
It's different for everybody. Because in the beginning, when you get sober, they say you need to change your people, places, and things, right? And it shows that he's working a solid program. And I wouldn't take it personal on your side.
No,
it's more for him is he's really working a program and he doesn't want to have any temptations or, you know, triggers or things come up. Not that you're that piece. My story is a little different. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are in recovery, but I also have a lot of friends that aren't in recovery, and I'm comfortable around that. They know where I stand, and it's like whenever we're around, they're cautious. You know, they're not raging and partying. And I also don't associate with people that are out there raging. People, when they're in sobriety, it's stay close to the pack, if you will, if that makes sense.
No, I'm learning all this now.
Yeah, Al-Anon's amazing.
If you have someone who is going through what you went through, it's nice to have someone who understands.
A lot of people don't understand. Wherever there's an alcoholic or an addict, there's a codependent or an enabler, and sometimes they're just as sick, if not sicker.
That's true.
I mean, I got to experience that because when I met Ashley and I had the 4.5 years of sobriety that I had, and when I relapsed and I was in active addiction for 3 years, she didn't know how to set boundaries. So I was able to manipulate her and kind of get her to buy into different things, and she did not know how to take care of herself. I got her wound up into the disease with me. That's why they call it a family disease, is because you can get people sucked into this thing and they don't have a way out.
How did she break free from it?
She reached out for help, and she finally got to a point where we had a child, Delilah, who's the love of our life. And, going into this, she goes, we can't do this anymore. And she reached out to my sponsor, and my sponsor gave her direction onto, one is you need to set a boundary, get him out of the house. 2, you need to be going to Al-Anon, get a sponsor there and do the deal. And that's where things shifted, man. And I wasn't welcome back at my house.
It's crazy because on the show I was watching, and you admit to relapsing and talking about losing $2 million in gambling and bad business investments. How does one walk in the house and tell their wife that they up like this?
It wasn't like, oh, one day, hey, babe, I lost $2 million and we got to sell the house and everything. It was over the course of time, right? I mean, gambling just on and off, doing different things. And it's one of those things where I didn't do, which I should have. I wasn't able to approach a situation until there was nothing else. It's like, we got to sell the house, you know what I mean? And that's when everything became apparent, because she thought things were, were going good. I've always done well, been successful, but it got to a deep, dark place, man.
Are you surprised she stayed with you?
Hell no, I'm just kidding.
I would have left.
I'm surprised she stayed with me. I mean, to your point, I probably would have left in that situation as well. But I think what salvaged a lot of this stuff is she got to experience me sober for many years. It's one of those things where I think she knows who I really was when I was in sobriety, and she knows the type of person I am, the big heart that I have, the loving compassion, because we had amazing years together. You know what I mean? So it was more of, she was fighting for that again, if that makes sense.
Do you ever look at your kid and stress out about how much stress you actually caused your parents back in the day? Because I feel like
all the time,
as a parent, you didn't understand it until you saw those baby blue eyes.
Correct. I thank God every day for my parents. They are saints for what I put them through. Because, I mean, I don't know if I shared with you one of the turning points to when I actually got sober. I call it my moment of clarity, right? Back in July 23rd, 2010. We were sitting in a therapy office. My dad's a patriarch of our family, just like the backbone of everything. And I'll never forget this, but he sat there and he just looked at me and he goes, this is after all the arrests, all the treatment centers, right? And he goes, we just don't know what to do anymore. And he starts tearing up, and he goes, our marriage is suffering. we're so lost. And he goes, we're just like two planks of wood laying in bed waiting for the phone call that you're dead. I'd seen them age like 10 years in a matter of 2, just the physical drainage of that. And I'll be making a living amends to them for the rest of my life.
Yeah. When you look at a treatment center, what are you looking like? What should people look for? Because I feel like people go for the bougie situation.
It's a great question. Ironically enough, we just did a whole segment, 20-something questions on how to vet a treatment facility. So one is people are going to have to check that out because I actually got a whole bunch of clinicians and a bunch of professionals to give you the exact things to look for when you're actually going into a treatment center. There's a lot of people in the recovery space that are not ethical and that aren't above board. Out of the 15,000 facilities that are out there, I'd refer to about 10%.
You went to a shady one.
I've gone to both. I've gone to really good ones and I've gone to shady ones.
I heard that people are turning up more in the shady situations than outside.
Unfortunately, yes. And that's why, again, I think, it's the due diligence on this. And I think the video that we've created is how to really properly vet a facility. From when they first call to what is an intervention? What is an intervention supposed to do? From, what does detox look like? What does residential treatment look like? What are the services that are supposed to be provided in there? Like the whole thing, all the way down to the family component, to aftercare, natural highs, how to maintain and sustain sobriety. It's really impactful. I mean, I wish we had more time because I'd break it down for you, but there's a lot to it. And I mean, this is a primary chronic progressive and potentially fatal disease if untreated. Don't think of it any other way. I mean, when you're looking for somebody to get help, that's what you're dealing with. I mean, this is the leading cause of death in America for 50-year-old individuals and younger. Wow. You know what the average age of first time use is right now?
What is it?
11 and a half years old.
When was the first time you used?
Like 15 and a half.
It was alcohol.
It was actually weed.
You don't seem like a weed guy.
I'm not a weed. I ended up running home in a panic attack. Dude, it was the worst experience in my entire life, dude. I was down at Thalia Beach. I'll never forget it. Smoked weed. I was like, dude, the cops are coming. Ran home, told my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't know what happened. Something at the beach bit me, or I don't even remember. But I remember my mom.
You got high as kite and you got paranoid.
Yep. Not my thing, man. I'm a stimulant guy. My thing's cocaine, Adderall, that crap. That's what I liked. But
this whole Adderall thing is so funny because I have friends who take Adderall and they think, oh, I'm prescribed to it. It's fine. My doctor knows. I'm like, I don't think your doctor knows you're taking 4 70-milligram Vyvanses a day and you're drinking 2 Chardonnays with it. Were you prescribed Adderall?
I prescribed it, but I got prescription dyslexia, man. Instead of taking 1 every 4 hours, I took 4 every 1 hour. Life got so good for me, right? I mean, through the promises of everything they say when you're in recovery, life got too big and too good for me, and I got distracted. My program did not become my priority. It got derailed. This was years ago, and I went to a psychiatrist and I explained my life, what was going on. I was trying to be more solution oriented with stuff, and just a couple months after I was prescribed it, I started abusing it, and I was like, well, because now after I take one, if I can get this, because it worked for a little bit, you know what I mean? And I was a lot more focused, and I was like, well, I'll take another one. And before you know it, I'm up until 2, 3 in the morning. A guy that's had issues with cocaine, you're not going to give him Adderall.
People on Adderall don't realize that they're addicted to something because a doctor prescribes it.
Correct.
And I want to stress that on this podcast, that even if it's prescribed, you can still be addicted to it. And sometimes you can get a bigger high from the Adderall than the cocaine.
You actually, you 100% can. I mean, people need to understand that. It's a more concentrated, it's done in a lab. I mean, you're getting the purest form of this stuff. But if we can provide this education, I love what you're doing. It's just people to have common knowledge on this, because the biggest defeat that we face with the stigma is the education on it. There's no such thing as recreational use of heroin. There's no such thing as recreational use of meth.
No, because everybody thinks they have it under control. And I'm like, you don't have it under control. Your arm is green.
I always go to the point, there's no normality in escaping reality. I mean, what is it that you're trying to get away from? Because as I said, drugs and alcohol were my solution. The problem was me.
We saw your story unfold. We saw the sobriety. We saw that you were happy and you had a kid. And all of a sudden you went back on reality TV, which to some people can be a trigger.
Yeah.
But you found a way to make The Hills a new beginning, a new way to get a message out.
Correct.
Were you afraid to walk into that arena again?
There was some fear around that. I mean, when we were approached and offered it, I mean, me and my wife took a hard look at what we were getting into and made sure to process, what the possibilities that could come out of this, right? And the thing that I think really turned me into this. It wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to get back on TV. Like, our lives are great. You know, we've established what we were doing.
Yeah.
We love the work we do. And I go, Ashley, this is almost like God's work. You know, I mean, he's given me this platform. I mean, it should have been dead 10 different times, like literally from the car accidents to try and take my own life, from the fights, all the different stuff that I was in, from the amount I would use, everything you can think of. And I go, this is an opportunity for us to use this platform to show people that you can change your life. I mean, because I was under a microscope of like, how much worse can it get? You know what I mean? And we took the risk, and obviously I had a slip during that time back months and months and months, almost close to a year ago. There's a whole nother conversation around that, but I'm okay with that because it's allowing me to be able to explain what happened, be able to give insight from a person that's in recovery, how hard it is to get back after I had that time, man.
Yeah.
To be able to acquire time again, it's been so much harder this time. And, you know, I can sit here and say to you, got almost 8 months again, which is unbelievable.
It wasn't the show that triggered you 8 months ago, was it?
No, you know what triggered me was actually for the first time in my life was body imaging. I had gained a lot of weight from this. I've always been somebody that's very active, very high metabolism, somebody that's always been in shape. And if you watch the last episodes of the show, I mean, I was 200, like the last show that was on, I was 200 and about 215 pounds there.
We don't talk about that enough as men.
No.
We don't talk about body image.
When I never had an issue with it. So it was something that it came from the side, and I was just like, not only am I, you know, and I'm working out, I'm trying to eat healthy, I'm not losing the weight like I used to, even just a few years prior to that, right?
Because you wasn't on that Adderall.
No, not
that Adderall.
Not only that,
that Adderall makes you skinny.
Even before that, I was in very good shape. I boxed all the time. I was very healthy. I was always on point with stuff. And just as you get older, and again, I'm not old, but I'm just saying, as you do get older, your body just it slows down. And knowing that now I'm dealing every day you wake up, right? You look in the mirror, you know, you see yourself, and I'm just not happy with the results that I'm seeing and stuff. And then now I'm shooting a show, so there's all these insecurities that started coming in during that time. It was like being able to actually come out and talk about something that I hadn't experienced before, because I was always somewhat confident. I mean, there's areas obviously of insecurity through the course of all this,
yeah, but
not to the point where I was like worried about weight. People from the outside, honestly, they're like, "What the hell would you don't have a problem with image issues?"
Yeah,
and the truth is, I did.
Right. I'm loving the new season of the show, but you guys just got picked up for season 2. Have you started filming yet?
No, we have not started filming yet. I heard through a little birdie that we're going to start shooting in October.
Are you going back?
Yeah, man, it's just getting started now.
Is there something that you wish you would have known going back into the hills?
I think after shooting and finding out, you know, who really people are, that's one of the things that I'm kind of shocked about is I've been let down a little bit.
Are you talking about Single Brody? Because I'm ready for Single Brody season 2.
Oh no, dude, Brody's the man. It's not him.
The Brats.
I'm not going to say nothing.
Everybody is calling out the Brats. What happened?
Which part are you talking about?
What happened? Like, why? What's the disappointment? Like, why is everyone saying they're not who they say they are?
There's just a couple people on the show for me that I'm talking about that portrayed that they were one way, and after the show's done, just you get a totally different side. And again, I'm not necessarily saying it's the Brats. I'm just saying there's a couple people that, again, I don't associate with that. I don't want to invest time and interest into a relationship where it's not reciprocated.
So will we see the change in season 2?
Hell yeah.
Because person or persons will try to then come back into your life.
Not happening.
But I feel like you're not the type of guy to hold your tongue.
When I was with all this crew years ago, I mean, I was in my own drunken stupor. Didn't really get an accurate read on everybody. Did not really know them. I was, you know, this was like the first time I had met them again. So a lot of it was assessing the situations and really understanding them, because I'm also a person not to, you know, I pause when I'm agitated, you know what I mean? Whereas now though, I mean, I've got a good read on it, and I'm a person that, I mean, for me there's no fakeness, you know, by expressing vulnerability creates humility, right? So I'm an open book around things. And I think for next season, it's calling people out on their dude.
Ooh! Okay, hold on. You're not afraid for people to be honest because you're honest yourself.
Well, you know what's amazing too is I'm really proud of my wife, because it gets way better this season, dude. She lays down the law.
Is she getting hot and heavy on somebody?
She keeps it real, dude. I mean, that's how we are.
But it's harder because, okay, she is a newbie coming into this.
She is, but she was mindful to it, but she picks up on stuff very quickly.
I think your wife is coming in with a fresh mind, which is why she's going to get real. And I saw the twitch in her eye one day. Yeah. I was watching the episode and I was like, oh, she senses the bullshit. She's ready to go at it. I like her on the show.
Oh, I think she's awesome. I think she's an amazing element. But she also, like I said, towards the end of this season, dude, we can't wait for this to be done. But she calls people out.
You say wife, and I'm happy you brought that up because are you guys married? Because I don't want to open a magazine and it'd be like, oh, we found out they aren't really married too.
Oh, just
and
like
pull a
Brody.
Brody.
Okay. No, we are married, happily married. You're fun. That was good.
I just want to know.
I know we've been together almost 9 years, so and it's awesome though. I mean, I can tell you, and I can sit here. This is the first faithful relationship I've been in. You know,
because I feel like you were dripping back in the day. You were taken down.
I was all over the place, man. I was dirty in a toilet seat, bro.
How? Wait, okay, because this was before Tinder. This was before social media. Like,
thank God those things were here, man. I'd probably be dead.
How were you taking bitches down? Was it the club?
It's Ashley. Don't ever listen to this. When we go to these clubs, right?
I've heard the legends. I've heard the stories.
Dude, we would go to these clubs, and I mean, it was 2,500 females with like 5% men. The guys that were there were smart because there were so many girls there. I mean, it was like you hand select these people. It was just crazy, dude. It was bad.
Tell me the wildest story. Man. How wild did it get?
Very wild. I was up for 3 days. I'll tell you that much, man. It got real scary.
I went to a club in New York and I ended up in San Tropez.
That's
and
fire.
I don't know.
That's fire.
If you know how I got to San Tropez, I would really appreciate it.
Dude, you have to. If you find out ever, you have to let me know.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Are you kidding, dude? I love you, man.
I had a really good time with you.
We'll do it again, man.
You're really open.
Yeah, duh.
You have so much more to do in your life.
I appreciate that.
I'm so excited to see it.
I love it.
Thank you.
You're the man.
Like what you saw? Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss any new episodes of Just a Sip, and you can catch up on any past episodes. The tea was hot, I'm telling you.